Hello, my name is Connie Pike. I'm a member of the Eagle Valley Brush and Palette Club here in Sycamoose. EVAC, Eagle Valley Arts Council, has asked me to do a tutorial to do an acrylic painting, and this will be for you to work with me to paint at home. What we will attempt to do today is do this painting, which I'll explain in a couple of minutes. You've received a bag of goodies in this blue bag, and I'm sure you've looked at it already, finding your paints, your canvases, your water bucket, a little something to put your paints in. Now, sometimes it's not quite big enough, so you might want to get a pie plate or something on a flat surface so you can spread your painting combination colors out a little bit. But for our purposes today, this is going to work quite fine. You've got 1001 brushes here, enough to last you for a few years. But for today's painting, I have chosen 4. One wide square to do your background. See that one? A smaller square to do perhaps around the moon and your straight lines. An angled brush, flat, to do the branches and the trunks of the trees and whatever else we can find to do with it. And then the grand finale to do your signature or to work very fine. Fine work is a very small brush. Also a pencil, you might want to sharpen that ahead of time, getting going. And I think we are pretty much ready to go. You also have an easel that came along with your kit. Now for today, these canvases are quite small, and I prefer to paint flat down because putting them up on a canvas, it will move, or up on an easel, it'll move around quite a bit. So I think it's best that we do after you're finished, and when you're finished, all 4 or 5 or 3 of your canvases, you can set them up on your easel for display, and they will show 1, 2, 3 quite nicely together. So that's what you can do. And then you can say, I did it. So the paintings will be basically the same, but they will be different because you have done them. And this is relatively simple to do. We will do a background. We will place our lines where we want them to be, and then paint some trees, and you will be done. So we will get started. And initially, we'll take your little round cap from your water jug, and you're going to place your moon. We do not want to place it dead center because in painting world, it just doesn't work well that way. You want to go off center, either one side or the other. Also, there's a rule of thirds in both photography and painting that you don't want to have a horizon line going smack dab in the middle. It divides your painting too much. So we're going to come, because our focus is going to be on the moon and the sky, we want to do our horizon below the halfway mark. Just draw a line. We're going to cover this all up, but it gives you a visual about where you want to be. Now, putting it down, we're going to take our paints, and I've chosen white, black to make gray, yellow and white to make a pale lemon yellow, and I'm going to add a little bit blue. When I do paint with black, I always like to add a little bit of a color to it, and just to make it a purple black or a blue black, or something with a little bit of intensity and flavor to it. So today we're going to put a little bit of blue to make a nice slate color. We'll squeeze some of the, so you can do this with your with your paints, a tiny drop of blue, a little bit more yellow. I'll put that on the opposite side because that's another avenue we're going to do. So paint. I put down 2 blobs of yellow. We're going to add white to that eventually. So we'll do a lot of white in this tray. Also going to add a little white on the other end because we're going to have a blue, gray, black mix. And then our black will go beside the blue. That's a little bit too much, I think. So that's what you will end up with, is yellow, white to make your lemon yellow sky and the moon, black and blue and white to make the slate gray. So then we'll intensify, when we come to do the trees, we'll intensify that with a little bit more black because we want to create that silhouette look. Okay, we're ready to paint. You can do your wet your brush a little bit, but then you might want to have a paper towel handy or some Kleenex or an old rag or something just to dry that off so it's not totally wet, but you can have that handy. All right, we're going to mix up our blue. Hopefully you can see this okay. A little bit of blue. And a black and a lot of white. May have to add a little bit more white. It depends. You can have a dark, dark sky, or you can have a light, light sky. It'll be absolutely your choice. It's all about mixing the right color. Well, that's a fairly decent gray. If you want to make a little bit more blue, which I do, just to make a little slate color. So don't forget where you put your moon, but we're going to go across the whole page, your whole canvas. Now it's also a good idea to paint the sides of your canvas because when you're putting them up for display, you don't want to see that white. So it's always a good idea to paint. Now for a wash, you can also add a little bit of speck of water in there just to spread it out a little bit more. And you can water it right down. Water those acrylics paints right down to make them become a watercolor. So you keep going across. Give it a good coating because there are the canvas marks in the back. You don't want to make it too thin. So you cover up all those marks. Now we're going to lessen this here because we've got a lot of light coming down from the moon. So we don't need to intensify that too much. We're going to put a lot more yellow on there. So we'll clean up our palette here and see if we can work with what we've got, or we can add a little bit more. It's working well. Also, we're going to cover a lot of these side spaces in with the darker color. I'm going to just borrow a little bit here. See if we can finish that off. Get some mileage out of this. Later on, you can mix up a little cover and finish off your sides. I was just showing you what to do, but it gets a little messy if you do your sides right now. Okay, down to the bottom. Just covering that in. So we'll let that dry a little bit. Sometimes you get a little more paint as much as you've got on your hands as you got on your paper. So you have those paper towels ready. Okay, so now we're going to remember where we've got that moon is up here, and you can see the faint line of where our horizon is going to be. So we're going to just rinse out this a little bit, and we're going to mix up our yellow and our white to make that nice lemon yellowy color of the moon and the sky. So right now we're just going to do the water part. See where we're at here. You also throw in a little bit, if it's too bright, you can throw in a little bit of gray just to tone it down a smidgen. Okay, I'm going to get a nice horizon line here, and it really doesn't matter if you're absolutely 100% straight. We're just going to layer, just like you're looking at the water when you're watching the waves come into you. There's lines, and they come across gently. So at night, the lake settles right down, and it is very, very calm with a few wind lines on it. So we'll just go across like that. Now, when this moon is shining, it will start shining, and then as it comes to you, you can still see the division line of where it is shining, shining across. So the whole page doesn't have to be done. And then we're going to add a little bright spots going across. There we go. Now let's just take a look at that. See that it's coming along. So how are you doing on your end? Let's get this started. Okay. Now the next big project is to get that moon placed there again. So let's remember where we put that moon, and hopefully it's dry enough that we can draw that back on again. Place that, because we're going to use that paint again. We'll just leave that brush there, and we'll take our pencil, and we're going to make it a little bit off center and draw around, and it should show through because the acrylic is not quite dry yet. So now I can see the moon, and hopefully you can see where to paint. So I'm just going to sit down for a minute because this is a little bit more delicate. You want to get that round circle of the moon, and then it's nice and bright around the edges. I could certainly use some glasses about now. Now, maybe I'll just try the square one. That's given me a little bit too much of a point. So we're just going to go to the square one. I'm going to follow the outline that we have drawn in pencil and follow it right around. We don't have to be too worried about strokes right now. Just getting the outline so it looks round. This is the more of the fiddly part. And then just take your time, go around, stay inside the lines. We can straighten out the middle after that. Okay, so now we've got a moon starting to happen here. Now we're going to bring in the color. And because the cloud striations are going across it, you want to get more lateral lines. We also got to get some facsimile of that man in the moon. So we can leave some darker spots. And then just keep coming across. There we go. Now, there's our man in the moon. Let's see, maybe a little bit of gray. If you've got some left on your palette that isn't dry, that's the thing with acrylics, it does dry up quite quickly when you're in a warm air situation. There. Okay, I went over the edge a little bit, but we can fix that because we can cover that over with a cloud. So here we have our moon happening. All right, now the next thing we want to do is bring a little more white into our yellow, so it looks like clouds going across the sky in front of the moon. So we don't want to make it too dark, but you can just visualize. It doesn't have to be an exact science. You can just draw some clouds going back and forth here, and bring some of them from the side of your page. Don't paint them all down in a line. You want some coming from this side, you want some coming from that side, so it doesn't look like it's a square box. And grab some more paint. Maybe as we go down to the earth, there might be a few more clouds settling into the lake and into the mountainside. You can still see your horizon because there's a contrast of color. And then at some point we will get and make a fine black line, because as you know, when you're looking out across the lake, further closer to the mountains or to the land on the other side or to the sky, it's always got that darker line to show you where the horizon starts. So we'll also put that in. All right, so now a little bit of reflection. On the water. And just fool with it until you're happy. Bring a little more depth on this side, a little more on this side. There, so how's yours coming along? Similar to that? It's your painting. It's going to be good. All right. Now, you can quit there or you can mess with it a little bit more. It's entirely up to you. Now we want to pick up that horizon line. So I'll see if I can pick up some black in here. And you can take your straight line go across your horizon. A little bit more black on there. There. Okay, so now you're looking far into the distance so you can see the break. You'll wash that off. And wipe your brush. And then we're going to, where the moon is hitting right here, we're just going to add in a little bit more. So the moon is telling its story running across the water. There we are, and coming off this way. A little more white. Okay, that's where we're at this point. Hopefully this isn't going too fast for you. You can put it on pause anytime. Okay, rinse that brush. Just a couple of hints. Don't soak your brushes in water. And when you are cleaning them, wash them with only tap, cold, lukewarm water. Don't use hot because it destroys all the glue on the inside. And it doesn't make your paintbrushes go very far. And keep them clean because as soon as you're finished your paintings, make sure and clean them well and clean right back to the base because otherwise they get sticky. So other than washing them just in this little jar here, take them to the sink and give them a good wash, getting down to the roots. You can use a very mild, tiny bit of soap to get them clean, but make sure you rinse them out well. And then flat dry. Never put them this way to dry because all the water runs back and destroys the groove. So just a couple of points about your care. So the next thing we're going to do is draw some, not draw, but take your brush, and as I said, we're going to use the pointy ones to draw some tree trunks, and then we'll fill in afterwards. So the black is what we want quite a bit of, because we're going to do all the branches with it. And again, I'm going to add in some blue just to give it a little color inside. Now you don't want to use blobs when we're drawing the trunks. We just want to scrape off most of the paint and then have a line. The other thing I'll point out, as in the original picture here, is that you don't want all your trees to be the same height. One side could be higher than the other in tree length and the other one shorter, but then again, make the one short, one tall, one, they're all different in nature. So then there's no straight lines going across. We're going to make them different. So draw a few lines just to get started. As the trunk is larger at the bottom, you can start from the bottom with a little bit of pressure, and then as you come up, just go like that. And we'll draw a bunch. You don't have, all the tree trunks are not going to show. So we're just going to go up with one short, one long, maybe one's coming up higher here, and maybe one a little bit further this way. The choice is yours. You can put as many or as little trees as you want. Now let's go to the other side. And because the moon is offside, we're going to make this space on this side have a little taller trees. So again, start from the bottom, go up and a little bit higher. And again, as many as you would like. And that should do it. A little bit shorter. There we go. Now this is the fun part because you're going to create your branches. We're going to start at the tippy top of the tree with a really, really light touch. And you know, when you look at a pine tree or a spruce tree that's growing, there's not much up top because it's still growing, and you just want to touch your brush to get a branch and dab it. And then as we come down, we're going to get wider and wider, so eventually they will overlap. So you just keep working at it and having them start in the middle of the tree trunk and come out and a little bit down, and just work it. So it just keeps moving along and you're building your branches. So, and then as you get to the bottom, you can put more pressure. And then you want your branches also to go off the side of the page, so it looks like it's a portion of the grand picture. So now we can start gobbling up the paint, and then you kind of see where they are in the back. So you've got smaller and bigger, and then they all overlap. We'll go back up here so we can see where we're going with it. And again, a little pressure to get bigger blobs as you're coming down the tree trunk. Anyway, I think this is the most funnest part of the whole painting, is creating your silhouette of trees. Now there's one more. And that little sharp edge, the angle edge, just helps facilitate the manufacture of the branches. And you can still see, so don't cover it all the way in because you still want to see the reflection of the moon on the lake. And then you can see them, they come right through the branches. It just creates something interesting. Okay. All right. So there we have our silhouette on the one side. Now do exactly the same, only different on the other side. There is an artist in Tofino, and his name is Charlie Vickers. and he does color sunsets with silhouette trees, and they are wonderful. If you get a chance to look up the website on his paintings, they are marvelous. He also has a full studio where you can go and look at his art in Tofino on the island. It's a wonderful place to go. All right, keep building those branches. And hope you're having fun at doing this, because it's not supposed to be work, it's supposed to be fun. And it is your painting, and it does not have to be identical to something else. It's called Artist License. There we go. So that didn't take long. Yes, you can facilitate a little more paint on there, or you look at it. Nice thing to do also is put it away for the night, because at the end of the time you say, oh, I don't like it. Put it away for the night. Then you go and look at it again tomorrow, and you come back and say, did I really do that? Yes, you did. And last but not least, you're going to sign your name in the corner where you can get contrast. So put your, however you want to sign it. You can date it or not date it. That's entirely up to you, and however you do your signature, or just your initials, so somebody knows who did that. And then look at it again. You want to maybe paint a little bit more shading for the man and the moon. Maybe I'm looking at that moon, I'm thinking, maybe it could be a little bit lighter with a little bit more white on it. Entirely up to you. So I hope you had fun painting at home, and that you look forward to the next round. So adios.